This show is brought to you by our partners TalkSPORT BET, and new customers can get an exclusive new offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Head over to talksportbet.com/Inside Devils to claim this offer now. Stylistically, right, Kobbie actually doesn't fit what this manager wants to do.
The system has been rubbish.
Yes.
He's not got the system
100%.
going. If we lose, there'll be conversations being had in that boardroom. The only person we can look at as an individual and say, you've not been good enough, is Amorim. He's taken us backwards. When Mbeumo and Cunha and Mount are all on the field, make no mistake about it, Bruno's better than all of them in the 10. He's the best 10 in the league.
When I'm looking at how this is being set up, they should have got rid of him. Was it as clear-cut as we all think that Bruno didn't want out?
Euro. That is a hell of a baller we have on our hands, isn't it? What a defender.
There's been a lot said on Kobbie Mainoo and being open to leaving the club. Big shout out to Crookie there.
I want to understand what's going on here with Kobbie because it isn't his application. It isn't that he's a bad footballer. So what is it? I'd look at Amorim and...
I'll go as far as saying it'd be criminal to let someone like Kobbie Mainoo go. And I'll even go one further. If that happens, the tide will turn, in my opinion.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Devils TalkSport's Man United show, keeping you bang up to date with everything going on inside and out the club and of course on the pitch. Now we've got to get into it because it has been the second game of the season. Loads of optimism after a defeat to Arsenal. Loads of positives taken from a defeat to Arsenal. And it was a trip to Craven Cottage. That's where we had to look to next to say, okay, we're going to take the positives from that Arsenal game and go forth with it and score goals and win the game. Here to discuss what's happened in that game, TalkSport's Angelina Kelly and, of course, Ryan Statman Douglas. Welcome in, guys. Ryan, we drew the game, but it felt like a loss. Actually, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I feel like it felt more negative than the loss to Arsenal, didn't it? There was something that I think there was a level of expectation. That performance, it's the most positive reaction to a loss against Arsenal I've ever seen. Honestly, it really was. And I could understand it, don't get me wrong, that it was night and day compared to some performances last season. But yeah, that Fulham first 15 minutes, here we go. We're ready, we're cooking, we're back. Cunha could have had a bloody hat-trick in the first, 15. And then the same old problems just kept creeping in, didn't it? And it felt like a real sucker punch. I mean, the goal, I was speaking to my mate before the game. I said, we'll probably score today, but it'll probably be from a defender or something like that. That just feels like the vibe right now. So it was, it felt like a bit of a gut punch. However, I'm trying not to catastrophize it. It's still a point, and we did lose that first game as opposed to getting a point in this second game. So I'm trying not to be too negative about that performance, but it's difficult for us.
And there has been a lot of negativity in the aftermath of that performance and the result. Have you found it to be too much, or do you think it's justified? And when I say negativity, it's negativity. What I'm referring to is about the manager, his tactic, his principles. Oh, this is the same as last year. Not to mention Kobbie Mainoo getting overlooked. That's been a massive, massive topic. I'm sure we'll go into that. But having encompassed all of that, is the negativity justified, or is it more like what Ryan's saying, it's the second game of the season?
It's kind of 50-50 because I understand people's frustration, and there is no more of kind of a sure thing for Man United than going to Fulham in recent history. Like
8 times on the trot.
That should have been a tap-in. So I think in that sense, I get why people are frustrated. I think some of Ruben Amorim's comments are a little bit strange. Like, what was it? He said, we scored the goal and then we forgot how to play.
Yeah.
They were thinking, let's hold on to the advantage and try. What was it? He said, we want to win so badly, and that's a good feeling that we scored the goal, and everyone on the pitch was thinking, let's hold on to the advantage and try to win the game. But surely, like, you're the coach. You should be telling them, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, surely is there not a game plan? It's like they forgot how to play. I mean, again, English isn't his first language, and communication sometimes isn't always easy. But I thought that was a little bit strange, and that he keeps going back to this. Oh, we've been working really hard. I do question how many times we're going to hear we've been working hard, and how long we can use that, because the professional footballers, the professional athletes, they should be working hard. But I do also co-sign the feeling of it is the second game of the season. A lot of people, I think, had this been his second game in charge, I don't think that there'd be this much hype around it.
100%.
I think that because we've had months and months of this, and that there are a lot of stats around it and how many games he's actually been able to win and things like that. I just think it's a lot, and I think that we do need to give it a little bit of time. I think it just seems to be the case of Ruben Amorim. He's very good in Europe, which we're not in, playing against sides that you expect to be relegated, and kind of like the top couple of teams like Arsenal, City, Liverpool, everyone in between like 7th and 17th. It's just an absolute nightmare for some reason. But yeah, I get why people are frustrated about the situation. But it is early days.
It is early. I don't know. I think the problem that we've got, as you touched on it there, right, is that this isn't his first 2 games.
Yeah.
We have to remember that. And I think what is happening a lot in the fan base, a lot of the fans I've been speaking to and engaging with, both online and in person, is there seems to be this sort of power shift amongst fans of one set saying, this is a new season, give him time, etc. And the other half saying, hold on a minute. No, when you finish 15th and what happened last year happened, we don't get to this season and act like it never happened, especially when you're seeing some of the same traits as a continuation from that. And for me, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing some traits from last year which aren't gone yet. And that is a concern for me. On top of some of the decisions that he's making.
Yeah,
in game, not making sense.
Yeah.
Before the game with the starting lineups, etc.
Yeah.
Some of it's not adding up, right?
No, it isn't. I agree. That some of the in-game tactics. Well, let's just strip it all back. I mean, you talk about the same traits that are poking through and the negatives that are poking through. They all point to it's either the system or it's decisions Amorim's making. I think there's a lot of guys.
Mate.
Both. It's both. That's what I mean. And look, we can individualise players. We can do that. And there is a lot of four guys. I mean, Bruno has taken so much stick. I understand some of it, but he's taken loads of stick. Obviously, it's a magnifier when it's Manchester United. It's always amplified. But really, the only person we can look at as an individual and say you've not been good enough is Amorim. He's the only person really out of everyone where we can say that, because he's taken us backwards. Now, I'm backing him. Okay, I don't know what camera I'm looking at.
But it's just a fact, though, that we have gone backwards.
But that is a fact. Yeah, we have gone backwards, and so I'm concerned. I'm concerned about a few things. Like you said, I mean, sometimes he's refreshingly honest, and I like him as a manager. I like him as a person, and he stayed back and he signed everything for the fans, when I was at Old Trafford. Then he's a good bloke, definitely. And he's refreshingly honest in his conferences. But like you said there, Ange, that's a bit too honest for my liking. You're the manager. Sort it out. If they forgot how to play, that is something that you need to be doing. Like, that's not something that we want to be hearing.
But he was talking like he wasn't in control of his
Exactly.
players,
That's
being
what I
like,
mean.
oh yeah, and they were just trying to hold on to the lead. But you're on the touchline. You should be saying to them, no,
Yeah.
let's go forward. But then I think the subs that he's making, this obsession with bringing centre-backs in, what kind of message is that sending? And I thought it was interesting because he made subs like, 4 or 5 minutes into the second half?
Yeah, 50th minute.
I don't know
if that was Dallo and Seska.
If that was a tactical situation of he literally said, you've got 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite interesting. I guess Casemiro was on a yellow as well, which does make a difference. But I do agree. I think some of these in-game decisions that he's making, you are questioning.
It's also like the way he's building the squad, right? Because I've had to take a step back. So I'm really excited by the signings we've made. But I've been questioning what the actual thinking is and how it's going to transpire on the pitch. Because what our manager has done is brought in 2 brand new number 10s, who we're happy to see.
Yeah.
On top of a bunch of number 10s we already have. Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo in this system, supposedly. Mason Mount, Ahmad, who's now converted into a right wing back, but essentially play right 10. So that's like 5, 6 number 10s that we have. Then he's taken our best and most effective player in Bruno Fernandes and placed him in midfield, and then told one of our brightest prospects in Kobbie Mainoo that you are now competing with a place, his words, not mine.
Yeah.
Kobbie Mainoo is competing with a place in this team with Bruno Fernandes.
Someone who's undroppable.
Someone who's undroppable, someone who's the captain. And when you say undroppable, let's be honest, Bruno played a 2 out of 10 and should have probably come off the pitch. Now, when does Bruno Fernandes ever come off the pitch? Probably towards the end of Erik ten Hag's tenure, when he started getting a few substitutes out. And he was like, oh, that's a bit different.
But he should have been hooked earlier.
So you're telling Kobbie Mainoo that I don't fancy you over Bruno, this isn't even his position.
Yeah.
I don't fancy you over Mason Mount because when he took off Casemiro, put Mason Mount back one into central midfield, let's not forget. So I don't fancy you over him. Then he brings on Ugarte again. He doesn't do anything apart from nearly get booked.
Yeah.
So if you're Kobbie Mainoo and also the rest of the United squad, you're thinking, well, our midfield is toast. You play a midfield too, which if you're going to do that, you need some head of centre midfielders inside there.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, Bruno Fernandes now all of a sudden, which I knew this would happen. He's going to become the scapegoat because what you've done is you've extenuated all of his weaknesses, all of his deficiencies and put them on blast and taken away sort of his superpowers, which is creating, which is goals, which is influencing the game at the top end of the pitch.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem, Ryan.
It's a massive problem. We're talking about someone who's in the 50-50 club with the likes of, and Crook was here, of Cantona and Scholes and Giggs and Rooney and all this. Someone who's, no one's created more chances than him since he's walked through the door in the whole of the Premier League. This is a machine. When Mbeumo and Cunha and Mount are all on the field, make no mistake about it, Bruno's better than all of them in the 10. He's the best 10 in the league. So, and we knew this problem was going to happen with Bruno, but I just had this faith in Amorim that he had a fix for it. Do you know what I mean? That look, you're clearly gonna drop Bruno a little bit deeper, but you've got some kind of solution there.
Yeah.
That
we have none.
We haven't. And look, and it's only 2 games into the season, and I have to say, virtually word for word, I agree with everything you've said just there. The only thing that we can take solace in is it's only 2 games in, and Kobbie, there's still room for him to come in. Let's be honest. It could against Burnley.
But there's reports saying that he potentially wants to leave, or would look at his future. Are you surprised by that? Then? Or do you see why?
It makes me feel sad. I think with the Bruno Fernandes situation, he is not a box-to-box midfielder. So you're asking him to play in a position where he's not comfortable. Now, him partnered up with 25-year-old Casemiro, amazing. But what he's 30, 33. I look at these signings that have been made and I question, A, what was going on behind the scenes with these links to Bruno exiting, and B, is this a bit of a succession plan? I mean, he's not in the retirement home yet. He's 31
Do you think Bruno should have been sold? Do you think we should have cashed in on Bruno for £100 million and rebuilt the squad differently?
I think had I known the signings that we were going to make, I think it's definitely a discussion because if... I get what you're saying that he's, one of the best number 10s in the league, but he's 31 years of age. And how long do we go where we don't have succession plans at Manchester United? You're bringing in 2 younger players who overperformed their XGs last season. They were absolutely brilliant, Mbeumo and Cunha. You have Ahmad, you have Mason Mount as well. The way that I'm looking, and this isn't because I want Bruno Fernandes to go, because I think he's a brilliant captain, he's a brilliant player. But when I'm looking at how this is being set up, they should have got rid of him. Yeah. Because if you're not going to play him in one of them number 10 positions, you're hindering the growth of a young player in Kobbie Mainoo by playing him because he's your captain and because he is a good player. I question the recruitment that we've done because it does look like it was a succession plan. So was it as clear-cut as we all think that Bruno didn't want out?
Maybe
were there more discussions? I don't know. But I think with the Kobbie Mainoo thing, I have to look at Amorim and we're giving him time and everything, but, why is he sidelining all of our young talent? And it's really bugging me. You think of that picture of Mainoo, Garnacho, Højlund, sat there posing, smiling. They were a part of a lot of campaigns and shoots and stuff like that. Fair enough, Garnacho, it's not working. Højlund, he's not been able to get the best out of him. But Kobbie as well, I don't think when Amorim came in, was he sat there with Ineos being like, oh yeah, no, like all your young talent, they're no good. There was clearly some conversation. That hasn't happened, yeah. So, he should be a good enough coach. Fair enough if Garnacho hasn't worked. Fair enough if Højlund hasn't worked. But he should be a good enough coach to get someone like Kobbie Mainoo into that system. I think that he should be able to. We've seen that certain players can adapt. I think that somebody like Mainoo should be a priority. And like you say, he's not going to displace Bruno Fernandes.
No, he's not. No, because nobody does. We're gonna.
I think he could leave. I do think he could.
We're gonna get into the Kobbie situation very shortly in more depth. Back to the Fulham game, to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are most of the negatives out of the way. Positives, Ryan. Like you said.
Euro. Yeah. That is a hell of a baller we have on our hands, isn't he? What a defender. It makes you think, obviously we spent a lot of money for a teenager, and we kind of jumped the gun because it was Real Madrid that are coming. But my goodness, already that signing is coming to fruition as wow. We've got a hell of a player on our hands to make that last ditch tackle on one end of the field, and then go to the other end of the field. I think Yoro is definitely one of the, if not the biggest positive, and another one, Cunha.
Yeah.
What a player he is.
In fact, actually, it's a bit worrying, and I'm really negative today, guys. I'm going to be honest. I feel like it was almost like give the ball to... It was almost like he replaced Bruno in terms of give the ball to him so we can do something.
Yeah.
Because Mbeumo looked off it. A mixture of himself getting frustrated, wasn't winning his duels with Bassi and Sessegnon down that side, and Iwobi, sort of that trio down that Fulham left-hand side was doing a number on him.
Yeah.
And system-wise, we just weren't really finding him. Like, we created so many 1v1 situations for him in transition against Arsenal, whether that would be by design for Arsenal or because we played the game like that. It wasn't like that what type of game against Fulham, and I think Mbeumo got frustrated. But Cunha, every time he got the ball, especially like you said, first 15-20 minutes, he hits the post, he plucks that ball out the air from Bayindir, and that's the only place he could really shoot because of the angle he was at with his left foot. He had to go that side. Good save from Leno. You're thinking it's just a matter of he flashes one just over in the first minute or so, and you go, he looks at it. So that is a positive. But I'll be honest, that's the only positive I see. Defensively, I think we were okay. Yeah. We weren't getting... That's what's frustrating about... I mean, some fans have tried to paint this picture, Ange, that, Fulham were all over us and they actually played us off the park, and not really. Apart from Bayindir looking petrified at every corner, which is obviously why we're getting the goal kick. Apart from that... He made two good saves, one with his feet and one that he parried out to the right-hand side. But other than that, when Fulham actually scored, it was like the first shot I remember having him in ages. So defensively, as a unit, we're okay. But system-wise, in terms of creating as many chances like we did against Arsenal, that wasn't there apart from the first 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we were the better team for 20 minutes. I think the rest of the game, you could argue, I think Fulham did have some good moments. I mean... Fulham can sit there, and I've seen the things that some of the players and the manager have been talking about how they knew how to exploit Man United, etc. Listen, when you're playing with those two in midfield, you're going to be up against three normally. And when you have two players that either aren't fit enough or a little bit old, or then that's not their position that they're comfortable in, of course you're going to be able to exploit that. They didn't exploit it that well because they didn't win.
No, exactly.
So I think a better team with better players... that does scare you moving forward. But no, I mean, props to Fulham. They had some good moments, but I don't think it was... They were going on like it was a giant killing or something. It was like, I think, calm down on that one. But I agree with the defence, I think. I've been really impressed with Yoro. I've been really impressed with De Ligt as well. He looks like
really aggressive.
Yeah, and I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about De Ligt, and someone said like he's getting gobby, and I made a point of watching the game, and he's barking instructions, and I like that kind of captain De Ligt is coming through, because the way that he became captain when he was 18 at Ajax, it was a case of they'd lost a game, all the players were complaining about the ref and the conditions, and he was the one who stood up and said, we need to look at ourselves here, and that is how he got that captaincy, and we're starting to see a bit more of that De Ligt, and I really, really like that, and I'm really rooting for him. But yeah, like him and Yoro definitely stand out. Luke Shaw, I'm always rooting for the guy. Don't think he was as good as the other two, but listen, we've got Luke Shaw back and we know what he can do, so that is exciting. But yeah, I think it's hard. There aren't loads of positives, but I think if you're looking for some, it's those three.
Okay, moving on, as promised, we are going to talk about Kobbie Mainoo in a little bit more depth now. And then, of course, get on to a quick preview with Burnley and Grimsby coming up this week, 2 games within the week. There's been a lot said on Kobbie Mainoo and being open to leaving the club at the end of the window. Our very own TalkSPORT resident chief football correspondent, of course, Alex Crook's been right across this, breaking some news earlier on during the week before a lot of other journalists started to run the same story. So a big shout out to Crookie there. Yeah. How much of a disappointment would it be, Ryan, though, if he did leave?
Huge. You know how much I was backing Garnacho last season, but
and when stocks have all gone into Kobbie now.
Even when you asked me at the time, who I said Kobbie.
Yeah,
even at the heat of it all, because that when you talk about Manchester United DNA, that is Kobbie Mainoo through and through. And you're talking about someone who performed for his country as well.
Exactly.
At the tender age that he is. And we talk about the eye test. Oh, Kobbie Mainoo's got it in abundance. You see that, and he is an absolute baller, and he's come from the academy. And it would be criminal. I think I'll go as far as saying it'd be criminal to let someone like Kobbie Mainoo go. And I'll even go one further. That Ange, you said it earlier. The fan base are backing Amorim, and I'm backing Amorim. I think we can all say we are in this room because we're all pulling in the same direction, aren't we? But if that happens, and it was born out of these comments of Bruno, he's going to play over Kobbie, the tide will turn, in my opinion. I think that's when the fan base is going to start to raise an eyebrow and go, hold on a second. At what point do we say, we really like that young man? We really like that player. And you've, and he's ended up somewhere else. Heaven forbid another Premier League club or what have you. I think it would be criminal. We cannot let Kobbie Mainoo go. He's unbelievable and arguably should be starting anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I'm beside, I don't really want to think about that.
Is it worrying, Ange, that some of the reports are saying, they're all reporting that he's open to looking at his future. But secondly, if the right bid arrives, Man United would be like, 60 million for Kobbie Mainoo, eh? Let's have a look at that. 55 plus 5. I don't know what the figure is, but they would be open to it if it was substantial. Is that a concern?
Yeah, it's a massive concern. I mean, no player is bigger than the club. And, if the right deal comes in for a player, then of course they're going to consider it. But I say that when I'm looking at players who have given reason to need to depart, and he hasn't. And I agree with Ryan. I think if this does happen, and if the reason for this is not because of his application, it's not because of his attitude, it's not because he belongs in this quote-unquote bomb squad or anything like that, because Amorim has said he's been fighting, he's been working really hard, etc. This is just down to this system, then that is very, very scary, because we have, we don't have a lot at the minute. We've got all these records that we've broken in us being so bad, worst points, worst amount of goals scored, etc., etc. One thing we've always had is youth coming through.
Yeah.
And to essentially kill that off with someone like Kobbie Mainoo, who's barely even got going, can we say? Like, we had the Euros.
That's the key.
We had the Euros. He was injured for a good part of last season. We've seen a lot of conversations about, everyone thinks he's all that. He's still got a ways to go. Of course, he's a kid. Of course, he's got a lot more to learn. But we've seen that he's packed on the muscle a little bit. I think his longer game probably needs a little bit of work for what Amorim wants. But I go back to it. If you are a manager that should be winning Champions League, should be winning Premier Leagues, competing maybe for a Champions League one day if we're lucky. But
that's the aim.
You should be able to get a star like Kobbie Mainoo. You've done it with Ahmad, who I don't think is as good as Kobbie Mainoo. He's brilliant, but not as good, not in that kind of bracket. But, you've managed to kind of tweak this player and be able to work with him. I want to understand what's going on here with Kobbie, because it isn't his application. It isn't that he's a bad footballer. So what is it? I'd look at Amorim and think, are you just not capable of getting the best out of this player?
It's stubbornness. It's stubbornness and stylistic. The problem that we actually have is stylistically, right? Kobbie actually doesn't fit what this manager wants to do. Like, that's the number one. We have a manager who sees the game like this and sees his central midfielders in a certain way. They don't look like someone like Kobbie Mainoo.
Yeah.
They don't possess the attributes, or vice versa, of someone of a Kobbie Mainoo in central midfield. He also has made it clear to us by the signings he's made and the decisions he's making that over Bruno Fernandes in a 10 or Mbeumo or Cunha or Mount, he also doesn't think he's better than them by his depiction of the situation. So you have that to deal with. Then now what we're seeing as fans is that it also isn't a fair shot for Kobbie Mainoo, because you're saying that he has to compete against the captain. Why is he not competing with Ugarte for the other spot? Why is he not competing with Casemiro, who's past it? Why is he not competing with Mason Mount in the midfield? Why? Why is it Bruno Fernandes? And now it is Bruno Fernandes. You've basically just told Kobbie Mainoo you've got no chance of playing. And this is what I talk about, where we can't act like last season didn't happen, because for people who are saying it's only 2 games, he'll be all right. Well, hang on a minute. Let's look at last season then. Because what was our manager saying? Yeah, he needs to increase the tempo in those deeper areas, and he enjoys playing further forward.
Yeah.
So you've told us that's where you see him in this system. So you never want Kobbie as your 2.
Because you
don't.
Exactly. Yeah,
you've already showed us that. And that is a massive problem. And I think that This is like the Ahmad situation with Erik ten Hag just before Ruben got here. This is exactly like that. Remember before Ahmad signed his new deal?
Yeah.
And it was like, is he going to sign it? This, that, and the other. Wasn't getting played. Couldn't get. Mate, we saw Amari Forson start on the right wing against Fulham last year over Ahmad. We saw Mazraoui in the 10 at Fenerbahce. We were there. We were there over Ahmad. Then the manager
and then he brought Anthony on, didn't he? And then Anthony rolled around on the floor, and you saw Ahmad being subbed on, and you could feel the tension of him next to Ten Hag. His face
he was
like
fuming.
thunder. Yeah.
So this is, and people might say you're going too far. I honestly see it like this because this is just a situation. Let's simplify it. There's a player that we all like and think should be playing and know is very, very good in terms of technical ability, who the manager doesn't see in that way, which is what happened with Erik ten Hag.
He deserves a chance for me.
And he's not even getting that.
Because, like I say, I don't think you can count last season because I think for a young kid, I think there was a lot of fatigue with the Euros, which... Like that is not ridiculous for that to be
injured.
a thing.
A lot of
And
players
he was
suffered from
injured.
fatigue as well.
Yeah,
by the
we
way, last
saw it
season.
with
But off
so
that
many
alone,
players.
Ange, off that alone, if we're looking at sample size, this is why selling him is unthinkable at 20. We have no idea the ceiling that he can reach.
But this is the thing.
But if you go off his body of work, I don't know many 20-year-olds who have burst onto the scene and within 8 months, he scored at Wolves, he scored
late
against
winners.
Liverpool, he scored in the cup final, he's won an FA Cup. He was in the under 21s, then put in the seniors for the Euros.
What was it Paul
goes all the way to the
Scholes
final.
said? Paul Scholes said something to the effect of like, he's better than I was at
that
that
age.
age. Like,
Yeah,
what
I know.
kind of compliment? It's a brilliant compliment. But you're right. We saw it. With a Phil Foden, for example, that fatigue is a thing. Plus the injury, I don't see how you can be giving him this season as his chance, and I don't understand why you wouldn't be experimenting with that. At the end of the day, he was happy for, I don't know the situation of when Ugarte left Sporting and obviously made his move, but Amorim was happy for him to go, clearly. So why has he got this blind loyalty to him? Because he's not good enough.
No.
Why are you not experimenting and at least giving Kobbie the chance? It's infuriating, and I agree that if this does happen, if we do lose out on this player, then
do you know what?
It would be the most disappointing thing that we've seen in a long time, and we've seen a lot of disappointing stuff.
We have. I'll quickly say, if the system was working and we'd seen signs that the system was going to go somewhere,
You have to be right, and you have to be winning football matches.
Manchester United are going to get to here. If we play this system, Kobbie doesn't fit that system. We'd still be faced with a hell of a dilemma where we go, well, we lose Kobbie, but for long-term success, the system has been rubbish.
Yes.
He's not got the system
100%.
We've
So
got
he
no
deserves a
results.
chance in it.
So Kobbie deserves a chance. And I know we've said, look, he's going to die by the
Or
sword.
we outlast the manager.
Exactly.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
It is.
Even like the Erik ten Hag fit, like you outlast the manager,
Yeah.
and then someone comes in and actually goes, these lot should be playing a 4-3-3. Let's get Kobbie Mainoo in there as a left 8 with this person and that person. And then we move on from there. Really, really quickly before we move on to the previews coming up. Ange, is he still a Manchester United player, our beloved Kobbie, by the time the window shuts at the end of the week?
I want him to
By
be.
loan or permanent?
I want him to still be a Manchester United player.
Will he
as a
be?
Man United fan, I don't think he will be.
Oh,
You think he's going to go?
And
Got chills.
when I say that breaks my heart, like the idea of it is
Yeah.
absolutely devastating. If I'm Kobbie Mainoo's sister or mate or whatever, I'd be
You're
like,
saying
you
get
know
out.
what?
Yeah.
You're worth better than this. You're worth more than this. Like, you're an England international. Like, you're the future. Like,
Yeah.
go and be appreciated somewhere, because this guy isn't appreciating you. It would break my heart, but the way, talking to Crookie and, the knowledge that he's got on this situation,
It's a serious possibility.
I think it's a
Yeah,
massive...
and fans trying to bat
I
it
think
away.
he's more likely to leave than stay at this point.
Wow. Okay. Big for man. What are you saying, Ryan?
I think he's. I hope he stays, and I'm gonna say I think he stays. I just think whether it's naively or not, I don't think Kobbie will want to leave. I just don't.
I don't think he
don't
wants
think he'll
to
want
leave.
to.
I think he has to leave, though.
And I just hope that he chooses to stay, decides to stay, and Amorim gives him a shot at some point.
Okay.
That's what I think. What about you? Do you think he's going to go or stay?
I think he will stay. I do agree. I'm very, very concerned. I'm
concerned.
How I envisage it, as he's got 3 years left on his deal, 2 years of an extension. I think he'll get to the end of the year having not played much football. Won't get into the qualifying games with Thomas Tuchel, obviously, because he's not playing. Won't be on a plane to America. To America and the World Cup. And I think he could leave ending the season if Amorim's still here. If Amorim's still here. Right, let's turn our attentions to the games coming up. Thankfully, the games are running thick and fast this week, so let's get into an important week for Ruben Amorim's side. We travelled to Grimsby in the EFL Cup round 2. Round 2, because we were so rubbish last year. We're playing Carabao Cup already. And then we go to Old Trafford. We go back to Old Trafford to face newly promoted Burnley. Ryan, is it fair to say that it's unthinkable, and I mean the word unthinkable, to be even looking at Grimsby in anything other than going through to the next round?
It's
unthinkable.
It's unthinkable.
Is that a sackable offence?
It would put him right up there.
Yeah.
It would put him right. I mean, let's not get it twisted. If we lose, there'll be conversations being had in that boardroom.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Grimsby.
Yeah.
League 2.
Well,
I don't think it will happen.
As in we won't lose.
Yeah. It would shock me. It would shock me. I mean, that's
mate.
even now after all the misery I've felt, it would shock me.
It's that. No disrespect to Grimsby, but this is just footballing hierarchy. Let's not shy away from putting what it is on the table, what Man Utd should be doing.
Yeah.
It's such an insignificant game that we shouldn't even be talking about it as part of the package of what Ruben must deliver. Like, make sure you get past. It shouldn't even be that.
Yeah, just get it done.
Should it, Ange?
do you remember 2014, the last time that we had to play in the second round and we lost 4-0 to MK Dons?
Yeah.
They were League 1 at the time, I think. Or were they Championship? I can't remember.
So, that happened,
Yeah.
and I actually looked at the 11 from that game
Why
in
did you do
2014.
this? Why?
Angie,
Why?
this is
Because
terrible.
I'm a
Why
little
bring
football,
rhyme and reason?
Because
Why
I'm a little
do that?
football nerd and I was
We
bored.
don't want that here.
So,
We don't want sense.
so basically, from that 11, 6 of them never played for United again. 2 of them never started again. And a few left not long after. The only 2 that really continued a decent relationship with the club was Evans and De Gea.
Yeah.
that was it. It was, and I really hope that doesn't happen.
That's a hell of a stat.
Grimsby are unbeaten this year. I know it's Grimsby, but they are unbeaten this year. If I'm Grimsby fans,
this.
I refuse to get scared, man. I refuse
We
to
shouldn't
get
be.
scared.
But
No,
listen,
I
but
refuse.
mate, the system is so flawed and managers are coming out left, right and centre saying, we can get behind them too. Oh, we know that they want to go down the side. Marco Silva picking us apart. Mate, so Grimsby are going to have a plan. But
can't
we all...
underestimate Grimsby.
we
I
can't.
mean, the thing is, it has to be a drama-free night. I think had there have been a
Yes.
win at Fulham, I'm very much of the belief of when it comes to the cup, play the kids, because I think that we've been normally normally not
I'm
this
with you.
week.
Now's not the time to rely on Tyler Fredrickson to make us get through.
Because we have been very, very lucky and blessed with the cups recently, I want the focus to be on the Premier League. So I think had we won convincingly at Fulham, I would have been a bit more like, give Šeško a start, because I think the criticism he's facing is far too much. It's way too early.
Yeah.
The
Oh, he's
guy's
still got
only
to start.
played in the Austrian and the German league.
Yeah.
Adapting to the Premier League is massive. Give him a minute before everyone starts jumping on his back.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been a bit more, give Šeško a start, maybe Mbumo, and play a couple of the kids still.
Kobbie.
I would have, Kobbie. I would
We'll
have
see.
liked a bit more of a hybrid mix, because I don't think the cup should be the priority. We don't want to be embarrassed in them, but we've also been very blessed. But because of the Fulham game, this has to be a strong 11. This has to be our strongest 11, because we cannot afford drama and more talk around this club. It needs to be a comfortable win. There needs to be a good amount of goals, but more importantly, there has to be a good performance.
And very
Smash 'em
quickly
up.
on Burnley, that's the one. That's your meat and drink. We need our first 3 points of the season. We should be beating Burnley, but
Gotta
listen,
be a tap-in at Old Trafford.
it won't be five at the back. They're going to go to like they did against Spurs. When
Kyle
actually,
Walker.
Kyle Walker. I
Who
know,
keeps watching Burnley, by the way, and realising, oh my God,
what's
Kyle
going on?
Walker's
Yeah.
It doesn't
playing
feel
there.
right.
And
does
they
it?
were good in the last game against Sunderland. I know it's against Sunderland, their first home game, but they showed a little bit.
Yeah.
We're not going to get respect. So tough game, but obviously got to win before we wrap up.
Listen, I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think we win. I think we get 3 points, but it wouldn't shock me a 1-0 or a 2-0 at best. I don't think we're going to absolutely smash it.
No,
I don't know what you guys
neither
think.
do I.
It's going to be tough, I
So
think.
you're going what position?
1-0.
For Burnley.
Yeah, for Burnley.
I'm going positive. It's got to be, if it's Bayern goal, they'll definitely let one in. I'm going to go 3-1 United.
3-1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 United, and Grimsby I'm going to go 2-0
Oh,
United.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 3-0.
Right. Okay. There you have it. The predictions are locked in. Right. That's all we've got time for on this week's show of Inside Devils. We better be talking to you next when we've got 2 wins in our back pocket, 1 3 points, and 1 through to the third round of the Carabao Cup. Or I'm not going to be here. I'm not. And neither will Amorim. No, I'm joking. Right. We'll see you next week, guys. Take care.